Today I want to introduce you to my newest design build. I call it the Equalizer SA for shock and awe. It has a great little nub here. It fits on your hand. It's got a green flashing light which disrupts your attacker. It's got sound that draws attention to you and makes attackers think twice. Portable, lightweight, great for women, men, teenagers. And I'll show you how I made this one for around $10. Interested? Here we go. The design criteria for this is simple. It has to be a defense weapon that gives you standoff. If you just get nervous, you can deploy the sound, you can deploy the flashlight, dogs, animals, whatever it is. The whole idea is that it's disruptive. And when this is done with the final paint job, it's gonna kind of look bad, if you know what I mean. And so people aren't going to mess with you. It's got to be light. It's got to be relatively inexpensive. This thing will cost you anywhere from $3 to $5. This flashlight, I'll post a connection below, $4 to $5. And then you've got maybe another $1 or so in PVC pipe and maybe $1 or so in here. So if the person is still silly enough to attack you after the sound and light is going off in their eyes, and the sound is bringing attention to them, then you run. You run as fast as you can and get into a public area. But if you can't do that, then you have this little knob that I'm going to put on here. You've got this, and you just keep pounding away. I wanted it to be lightweight. This thing comes in at 173 grams or 6 ounces. And that's including everything you see here, and I'm probably going to lighten it up a little bit by taking this keychain off and doing a couple other things. Be able to stay in your hand so you can't drop it, or put it in your hand as you're walking across the parking lot. This will work for joggers of all ages. It's going to be an amazing little device that's probably going to catch on. We'll see. I was evaluating products like this that are sharp, some sort of defensive weapon, and it's amazing because the rankings on these are really high. There's only 6% that don't like this. But I think these weapons are dangerous. See, I've actually made one for the finger that's actually longer. Is that you have to punch this way. And anytime you're punching, you can break your hand. If a person is in this close, you're in big trouble. This is a standoff defense. I don't want to call it a weapon. What I'm calling it is a light defender. So the person doesn't even have to get near you for this to be effective. But instead of trying to hit somebody where you're breaking your hand, you're going to use a hammer fist. And being a martial artist for nearly 30 years, I will tell you for a fact that hammer fists are a lot more effective and safer for your hand than any kind of punching. Because then you have to punch with these 2 knuckles, you get arthritis, things like that. Hammer fist is just the way to go. Plus, then you have this blocking, and you have this in the right position for both defense and attack. Here are the things you'll need for this build. Some sort of keychain alarm. This is a 120 decibel alarm. I got it for a couple bucks. A 3/4 inch T. Now they come in different sizes. This one will work, but I like the extra length of this one, particularly when you get into making the cut here and putting the flashlight on this head. Number 10, 24 cap nut. Some 3/4 inch number 10, 24 screws. A bright LED flashlight. This one has bright, semi-dimming, and flashing. The flashing is the key. There's been a lot of scientific studies done, and the green flashing LED is a lot worse than any other color. So that's why I'm using a green flashlight for this build. And you can see some bungee here. If you don't have the 1/8 inch bungee cord like I do, you can use these quick laces. They're great for shoes, and sometimes after a kid has turned over a shoe, you have an extra long length, just enough maybe to do this build. So don't throw it away. Sometimes the laces last longer than the shoes do. I'll post up here a link to my evaluation of this product in others. Really a great idea. And then some sort of small clamp like this. So you'll need some black tape to put around the flashlight so that it fits in to the T-fitting. A cheap pen for this right here. Doing something a little different on this build. Instead of going through the trials and tribulations to get to this point, I brought you to the point of what we call in the business MVP. And that's not most valuable player. It's minimum viable prototype. To get this angle, what I did is I took some blue tape. You can see an angle right here, maybe, right there. And I just went from the tip of the PVC and just took a natural curve all the way down and slanted it as much as I could. And just taped it up like that. And then using the hacksaw, I just went right down along the tape line. Now, when cutting something like this, it can be kind of challenging because you can't get it in the vise and you got to get some distance. So what I did is I take the spare piece of PVC pipe, I put it into one T, I get another T and I set it off like this, and then I put it in the vise and clamp it down this way, and that gives me plenty of room to make the cut over here. That tip works all the time in all sorts of crazy angles where you need to clamp it down good, but you really can't clamp the actual piece that you're cutting in the vise itself because you need the extension to get the hacksaw in there. And here you can see where I cut it. This is the part that I cut off. It's really rough. Here I just smoothed and sanded down, and that's pretty sharp. It'll do the job. If you really want a little bit more projection, you can do the same thing here to a coupler, but then I think it just gets a little too long. So I just decided to leave it like that. I've got this cable tied in place here. I'm laying it flat. Now let's take this top off. This is a 1-inch piece of PVC, and in the middle I took and drilled 2 holes. Now I didn't drill the holes this way, I drilled them in sideways with the 1/8 inch drill bit. The great thing about this drill bit is it's got this really spiky point on the end, and that allows you to, if you start slow, that will keep it right in place and you'll be able to do it at an angle instead of perpendicular. And then you can see what I've done here is I just took another cable tie and attached these 2 things together. Now, as I gave this more thought, I was thinking maybe I want a little bit of the ability to adjust this, and I've got some room in there. So what I'm going to do is maybe make that just a tad bit longer or clip it out a little further. Put this piece in here so that I can adjust that, and then on the fly, put it back in. Pop it back in here like this, pop that other end in, and you're back doing your thing. The other thing I wanted to be about this design is I wanted it, could take it on an airplane. And if you see something like this, probably through security, that's going to make people nervous. But if you take the flashlight out, which you can here, then that's a little more describable. You can just say, hey, that's just a security device I have, or we'll see how it scans. I'd be interested to see what happens if people take this on an airplane. My hand is right around 4 inches wide. The great thing about this flashlight is it goes back and forth like this. So if you have a smaller hand, like my bride has, she mentioned that she would want it shorter, so look at that. All this is right here is a cheapo pen. I wanted something black to blend in. Using a hacksaw, you cut off a 1/2 inch. You take a 4-inch cable tie, you run it through there, right where that groove is. So that takes what I call the handle or the strap. Now, what are we going to do on this end? And I want to make it a little wicked, so I'm going to take and drill a hole here. I'm going to use the 1/8 inch drill again as a start. You might be able to see there is a little circle, and that's my guide for the center of this piece. Using a 9/32 inch drill, I got a hold so that I can screw that in there and actually thread the plastic. The cap nut could probably go down here. You could probably use just a 1/2 inch number 10 screw. Because you have this nice little clip here, you can clip it onto things. I'm not liking this strap a whole lot. I guess you could clip it on here if you really wanted to. But if you've never seen one of these inside, There's your batteries. There's a card there. And then here is the speaker. And there it is there. That's giving off your signal. Hoping that when I paint this up, it's not going to have any problems with changing the frequency or the functionality of this. That looks like a separate piece. Let's check it one more time. Again, this comes off pretty easily. Yeah, I think that's just glued on to the plastic itself. And so if I spray paint the plastic on the outside, that's all sealed up. I think I'm going to be okay. Taking off this, I'm going to tape this up and glue it in place. I don't think I need that notch anymore, so I'm probably going to just cut that off. I don't think that affects anything. It comes off pretty easily. Boom, done. And I might tape that up because it has a nice little light. It looks white on camera. Well, there you go. Looks a little red there. Gonna clean this up, sand this down, take all the lettering off, maybe rough up the plastic a bit so that the paint adheres to it a little better. And just using a medium grit sanding sponge, it really knocks down those letters real quick. You can see that when I put the end cap in the T connector together, that it's pinching on this elastic cord. Don't want that to happen. So what I'm going to do, I've marked the two locations, both on the top and the bottom. I'm going to take a small round file that's about the thickness of the cord, and I'm just going to make two half circle grooves on either side so that it won't pinch on the elastic cord anymore. And just like the holes that I drilled in, I made the grooves more parallel than directly in like you typically would do. So pull this out, and then I'm going to just get a sacrificial piece of pipe to keep these two guys together, and then paint it up. I'm going to take some tape and just put that down inside. I'm going to take a painter wire to be a coat hanger, run it through like that, twist in it like that, and that will hold it nice in place when it's drying. As for gluing this in place, I'm just going to try at first using some super glue. So just put some here, spread it around a little bit, here, and you want it with that pointing down, and you want to move that up. Come on off. Oh, it's going to glue it right. So the screw can come off up on top, and you can replace the batteries that way. And within seconds, it's in place, whether you like it or not. Rock solid. I'm just using a Krylon gloss banner red. It's the next day. It's supposed to dry in 24 hours. It's still, I think I might wait a little longer, but ultimately I'm going to put some clear crystal gloss coat on there to seal the paint, because this is going to be out in the environment, in and out of purses and bags and things like that. So we want to make sure that the paint is protected. I also jammed some paper towel in there. I probably would use something a little different next time, but a little bit of twist and it comes right out. Might touch that up a little bit with the marker. Take this off. I'm going with a slightly bigger washer. Put two of those on there. So one of the washers from before, a nut, and then the cap nut to go on top of that. Looks pretty wicked. So using a cutter, I was able to pry open that and put it back. Put the screw back. See if this light works. Yeah, look at that, it actually works. Originally I had a cable tie going across here, and my wife said, well, you know, what if I have a smaller hand or people with smaller hands? So you can actually adjust it based on your hand. So you put your hand in there like this. If you got a bigger hand like me, you expand it out, or you can tighten it up, and that can be the adjustment. So that way you don't need to put the toggle in like I originally thought. Just fasten it off with a cable tie in there like I did before, and it's good for either right hand or left hand. Now remember, the hand goes to where the thumb is on the light, because you want to activate that. I think it's going to make an attacker think twice, and if just seeing it. But if it doesn't, then you deploy the light. You've got this little protector here, and of course the alarm. All I have to do is figure this little piece out, and I think I've got an idea of connecting it to here, because the last thing you want to do is lose that pin, because you'll never find it again if you pull it out in desperation. What I have here is some 100-pound paracord. That way I can discern between not wanting to pull that and just pulling the red handle for this. Using about 16 inches of paracord, I've made a simple overhand knot. I've taken the little circle that came off the original handle. I'm going to feed it onto here. But the great thing about the knot is that it's going to hang down, and then that will help you kind of grab at it, even if you have gloves on. And then I'm just going to do another simple overhand knot here and clip it on. I showed this to people and they were kind of saying it's a little hard to push this button. So I'm going to take one of these bumpers, and that extends it and makes it a lot easier. Super glue in the center. Position it. 30 seconds later, that guy's on there solid. And that makes it a lot easier to push this button. And the design is now finished. My son mentioned that you could also use this to break open windows. You want to wear it, not like this, because what that does is forces your hand forward like that. You want to wear it like a reverse knife technique. It stays in your hand really well. White's bad enough, but for some reason green is really bad. It makes people noxious. So if anybody attacks you, just point it right in their eyes. And then this will draw attention. This is truly a defensive tool. No one would attack you with this, because it would be basically, hey, I'm attacking somebody. And you know, the flashlight, it just seems rather innocent until it gets into flashing mode. Thumbs up and comments, always appreciated. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more things that I discover during meetings when I get bored. Coming soon.